Madam Chair, you're alive.
Thank you. Welcome to the June 28th, 2023 meeting of the Annapolis Education Commission. My name is Janet Norman, and I am the chair in an at-large position. And we are going to get started introducing our ward members and having them give a little background and their connection to education within the Annapolis cluster. I'm first going to give everyone a little task, since we have a smaller group, is when you introduce yourself and your ward, tell us a little bit of what got you fired up in your educational background to do the kind of work that you are in now. If there was an event or class or teacher or something that tuned you into what you're doing now. So I'm going to start, and I'm Janet Norman. I'm a parent of 2018 and 2021 graduates of Annapolis High, and prior Hillsmere Elementary PTA Science Chair, purchaser of microscopes, robotics chair, Annapolis Middle School parent PTA, et cetera, et cetera. And I loved being in AP Bio class in high school and doing dissections and all sorts of cool biology stuff. So that drove me into my career as a fish and wildlife biologist. We're going to start with Ward 1, which is Rachel. Next.
Hi, I'm Rachel Carr from Ward 1, and so I teach college physics now, and I guess in college I wasn't initially a physics major, but I loved the introductory class so much. It really amazed me, and I guess after a long journey and other things, I came back to teaching that class because I just love kind of the wonder in the ordinary, getting to share that.
Awesome. And Rachel's at the Naval Academy right now.
Yes.
Ward 2, Jamie Weaver, is not on with us right now, and we don't know if she'll pop in later. Ward 3, Enid.
Hi. Yes, I'm involved on the commission. I don't know if Pam did the same thing, but a principal at my school asked for volunteers of 2 teachers. I think each school at the time had asked for 2 teachers to attend the AEC meeting. It wasn't a commission then, it was just a committee. And so I volunteered because I said, okay, I don't understand some of the things that are going on here. It doesn't quite make sense. Let me see if I can hear from another perspective, exactly what's going on. And I've been on it ever since because I think it's beneficial. As you know, Annapolis is unique. And both from a parent and a teacher perspective, I don't know, Laura, but I used to be the PTA president at Bates, and I was also the PTA president at Parole. So I was drawn in through all aspects, both as a teacher and as a parent, and I'm still involved because I think it's important.
Awesome. And can you tell our new guests and others what your teaching positions were?
Oh, I was physical education. First, I was a special ed teacher at Central Special, and then I became a physical education teacher an elementary level.
Yay. Okay. Thank you. Ward 4, we have a new appointee to the commission from Ward 4, Ratasha Harley, and she is going to be joining us soon. She hasn't been passed through the subcommittee level yet for the city, but we look forward to having her working with us very shortly. Perfect timing. We are on Ward 5. India has just joined us. Hi, India. So
India Oaks, Ward 5, alumni of Annapolis Cluster and parent of a rising 8th grader at Bates.
Yay. Thank you very much, India. Ward 6 is Jess Packler, and she's not able to join us, but she is also the Annapolis Middle School PTA president for the coming year, and has been very active in Eastport Elementary. So she's And Jess also has students now at all levels still, but she helps run the Annapolis High community Facebook page for Annapolis High that we exchange a lot of information. She's one of the moderators along with me and Laura. So a lot of great information is exchanged there. Ward 7.
Laura Booth, Ward 7. I'm the parent of a 2021 graduate, and I have a current rising 8th grader at Bates, where I am the PTA president. When I was in 7th grade, I was told I was a non-math student. I was struggling with pre-algebra and was not doing well. And my mother hired a high school student who went on to major in engineering at Lehigh, I believe, to tutor me in math. And I really liked her. And with that one-on-one connection, I did really well. And when I got to high school, I had a phenomenal physics teacher who laughed at me when I said I wasn't a math student. I loved his class. I loved AP Physics. And I ended up, because of that encouragement and that connection with that teacher, went on to get a degree in mathematics. I also joined that same tutoring program and tutored kids all through high school and college, and off and on basically ever since. I've tutored kids in math because it's so important. Most kids, what they really need is one-on-one attention. And I mean, this is what everyone on this group knows. When they get that, students can achieve pretty much anything they put their minds to when they have that connection and that belief. And when I became a parent and had kids that started at the public school system, I mean, I've been involved with PTA now, I guess, for, I figured 16 years. That's immediately obvious. So I started volunteering in classes wherever I could. And like everyone on this call, knows that an individual can make a difference. And I'm so grateful and appreciative for everybody on the commission, because I know that we're all working together and, in our own ways to do exactly that.
Great example, Laura. I love that. Yes. So then Ward 8, I misspoke earlier because Jess Packler is the Ward 8 representative and Corey McCall is the Ward 6 representative, and they live on opposite sides of the street. So I always get that, I get the geography wrong there every time. So Corey's not able to join us right now. Maybe she will join later. That's our wards. And then we have some at-large members. I'd like to introduce the almost sworn in at-large member, Pam Bukowski, that has moved through the appointment and confirmation process by City Council. So Pam, I'll let you.
Okay, thank you. My path actually, a lot of similarities with Laura and a lot of similarities with Enid, although my initial involvement in the commission as a committee came when the chair of the committee supported me in my run for the Board of Education back in 2004 and 2005, and then asked me if I'd be interested in joining, the committee. I have taught Latin, I have taught algebra, both at Annapolis High School, and I retired as a speech language pathologist, which is actually what I started out doing in the early 80s.
That's a lot of different talents there.
So,
thank you, Pam.
and plus I have 6 kids to, to make sure I showed I was involved with all of them. And, education was the easiest way to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great story. Moving to our next at-large member, Grace Matthews. Grace, are you able to tell us a little bit? So what I asked people to do is just tell us a little bit of your background and what fired you up when you were a student.
Okay. Number one, I taught as an educator for 47 years. I've taught elementary, middle, high, adult basic ed, and a guidance counselor on a high school level.
Yay.
I've done a lot. And for the most part, I actually started out teaching on the Eastern Shore at Worcester High School. And from there, I came to Annapolis at Adams Park Elementary. I left Adams Park Elementary and I went to Brooklyn Park High School. From Brooklyn Park High School, I went to Meade as a guidance counselor. And I used to be the counselor for teenage moms.
Mhm.
So I've been in the system for quite some time.
That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids you've helped get through.
And I see them constantly. This is my counselor. This is my teacher. Da 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 da. So it makes me feel good to know that many of them have done extremely well.
Mhm. Mhm. That's awesome. That's a great feeling. Then I'm going to turn to our two invited guests today. Mr. Rodriguez, I'll have you introduce yourself.
Hi, I think here I am. I think I am here as an executive director at the Center of Health, but everybody is talking about their background in education, and I do have a background in education as well. So I taught for a little over 10 years in a college in Puerto Rico. I have a master's of music, so I taught like 8 different music courses at the college. And in 2018, I moved here to Maryland, and besides of my role here as executive director, I am also the interim director of the guitar orchestra in Baltimore and the Guitars for Change program. It's a Baltimore Classical Guitar Society program at Maryland Hall. So I am also the director of that program. So I am also teaching youth. And I am the new executive director here at the Center of Health. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and Mr. Rodriguez just started at the Center of Health, Centro de Ayuda, in May of this year. So he's doing many roles and getting up to speed very quickly in a big and challenging position. So that's why I wanted to have him here for this meeting and plug him into the network of people that can hopefully help out in many regards. All right. I'm now going to turn it over to Dr. Tobin to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Joanna Tobin. I represent the Annapolis area District 6 on the Board of Education, and I currently serve as president of the Board of Education. A number of things got me interested as a student, partially because I moved all over the world and I attended school in many different settings. I did first and second grade in Nigerian public schools in the north of Nigeria in the midst of a civil war, actually. And so I was fascinated generally with school, but also how different schools looked in the different places that I went and where I lived. What really fired me up in high school was I had a history teacher in 10th grade who seemed to have figured out, and I seem to be alone here as not being a STEM person, but he seemed to figure out that I was sort of trying to get my way, that history interested me, but I was actually very interested in theoretical questions. And so he started a reading group with me and about 3 other students where we started looking at economic theory and political theory. And lo and behold, many years later, after a career that detoured and started as a professional actress, which was my other great love, I ended up back in academia getting my PhD in political theory. And Pam, I've taught ancient Greek, not Latin, but ancient Greek, when I taught at St. John's College for a number of years. And I love to teach. And I don't teach college kids now. I work in adult ed with something called the Aspen Institute, but it's still what drives me. And And I recently saw that 10th grade history teacher, and still probably my favorite teacher I ever had. So
That's awesomely inspiring. Love it. Thank you. Well, we're gonna get right into the meeting, because I know Dr. Tobin has to leave us by 7, and I want to have time with her. So the agenda, I'm gonna move, if we can vote on approving the minutes till after her speech. Does anyone want to add anything to the agenda, or can we accept the agenda as revised by moving the minutes thing after Dr. Tobin? Seeing no objection, all in favor of the revised agenda, say aye. Aye. Okay, revised agenda. Dr. Tobin, if you can give us a little background on things coming up. I know there's a lot of strategic planning. There's a lot of things Dr. Bedell wants to do in his second year, and any other discussions you've had with the board and other things.
So very quickly, just so everyone's aware, we had a packed agenda at the last board meeting on Wednesday. So there were many, 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 many things we did. One of the things we did was to ratify the agreement with TAC. And that means that all of our bargaining units have their contracts ratified and approved by the board before the beginning of the new fiscal year. In the first, nobody can remember when that happened last.
And TAC is the teachers union.
I'm sorry, the Teachers Association, but we've also ratified AFSCME, which are our maintenance and custodians. We've ratified AEL, which are the administrators, and we've ratified SAAC, which are the secretaries and administrative folks. And so what that means is all those raises, because we also approved the budget. So all that is ready to go. And we have an additional 3.1 million from the county executive based on a sort of auditor find, which TAC, we signed an MOU with the Teachers Association. And that means, for many of you, you may not be aware, we're under the law of Blueprint for Maryland's Future requires that by the beginning of the 26 school year, we be at across the state at a minimum of $60,000 a year for a starting salary. We are going to be able to have a $58,000 starting salary for this year, which means we're in a more competitive environment, because unfortunately we have other counties that are racing ahead of that. So
and those are 10-month salaries, right?
Those are the 10-month starting teacher salaries. But it puts us, obviously, we've had vacancies that have persisted. We've also, there's a retention issue. And so all of this is to the good for, and bodes well. We are in a good position with regard to transportation. We should, knock on wood, be able to start this school year for the first time with something like normal school transportation, which, by the way, we're way ahead most of the rest of the country on that. So,
can you attribute that to anything? Is that like?
Yes, I attribute that to Dr. Bedell
looking,
figuring out a different way to do this,
which
namely was using the vans that were finally approved by MSDE. And when, we were told, well, it just takes forever to buy them, he figured out, he got a plan together to how to rent them and how to start. Now, our goals, and he went through this, first we get the routes covered. We got all the routes covered. Then we build our bench.
Mm-hmm.
Then we deal with the overcrowding on some routes, which we know we have. You just have to systematically chip away at those things, but it continues, and I think we will be in good shape, barring any unusual, one never wants to say never, but that should be ready to go when school starts. So those are two
Huge.
things. Obviously, you're all aware that the new principal was hired at Annapolis High, bilingual.
I'm going
Uh,
to say it was a very nice introduction letter that Dr. Bedell and the team did to let the Annapolis cluster community know about Ms. Wayland, who was the current assistant principal. And he really, like, you know, I had been there several years when she was there or whatever, but I didn't know her background. And so he let everybody know her background and skill set that she was bringing to this position. Which
Yep. Yes, he was thrilled when he interviewed her, and I think he feels that she's the right person at this time. And as I've said previously, one of the most critical skills you are hiring when you, as a board, you hire a superintendent, is the capacity to hire good principals and coach those principals, because anyone who's ever taught in K through 12 knows how critical the principal is in shaping the culture and structure of the school. I know there have been a lot of inquiries about the status of Panther Hour. I've mentioned this to Janet. We've had a fair amount going on at the board recently, and I haven't had the opportunity to have a longer conversation with Dr. Bedell about this, but I think the changes they're anticipating, frankly, have to do with balancing some issues. Annapolis has a unique problem in that there's so much close to the school, and students coming and going is a continuous problem. And so they're trying to balance making sure there's space for clubs and, you know, being able to go to teachers for help with the realities that in this day and age, the security issues around having students leaving and coming are significant. And so I think they're working through that. But the idea is not to take it away completely, but to see if there's a way to modify it that will, as I said, balance those concerns, but more to come on that. For those of you who, if you have any questions, if you listened last week, Dr. Bedell laid out once more the timeline for redistricting, and at the next meeting, which is July 12th, because in the summer, we only have one meeting in July and one meeting in August. There, at that meeting, Dr. Bedell will submit his proposal for the first phase of redistricting. I mean, we're, for the first time again in anybody's memory, we're now undergoing a countywide redistricting in 2 phases. So while the first phase is North County, so it won't directly impact the Annapolis cluster at this point, I urge you all to watch closely how it proceeds, because, you know, like anything, we will learn some things from the first as we go through the second. The second will that will take effect the fall of 26. So this will take effect the fall of 24 and 26. Obviously, the North County, we're under the gun for the new high school that's being built in the western part of the county. But that is going to be, because we don't like to do small, easy things at the Board of Education. So that will be our next activity, which is always very popular.
I ask, what's the name? Is the next high school the Old Mill Complex, or is it?
Yes, that is the new Old Mill.
Is there an official name for that?
Yeah, because that is so the principal has been hired for that, who's going to spend a year now, hiring staff and so forth. And part of the principal's job is to sort of lead the community through determining what they want to name the school. I mean, this happened with Crofton, and the community settled on Crofton, right? But it needs to be a community decision. just like the signature program is, just like lots of the things that sort of get set in motion when you have a new high school. As Dr.
Is that
Sorry.
adding capacity to the system?
It
Much
is adding some capacity. It's adding some capacity, but
replacing the existing to 19.
Yeah. As Dr. Bedell said at the last meeting, redistricting is a very good problem to have because it means the system is growing, right? So we are projected now over the next 10 years to be the fastest growing school system in Maryland.
Wow.
And so redistricting is one kind of problem. It's way better problem to have than closing schools, which is, I was up in Garrett County a couple of weeks ago. They have a real problem on their hands. And so we are bound now to make sure we balance our facilities, because before we go back to the state and say we need more facilities, we have to demonstrate that we are using what we have. And I think one of the advantages of the sort of online tool we've had up during this process, and we've gotten over 27,000 comments through that portal, which have had an impact, according to Dr. Bedell, on the proposal they're going to make. But the advantage of that, and of course, if you went on to it, it wasn't just the two scenarios that are the consultant put together for the northern part of the county. It's also, we had them make sure that you saw everywhere all the other schools in the system, so you could sort of see what the numbers currently look like and what the capacities look like. It is the case that, you know, people are going to be able to see that we just have to balance here, that it's not about, you know, everybody, it's not fun if your family is a family that's, you know, moved out of the school maybe 2 generations of your family went to, but we have to be able to balance those facilities appropriately and make sure that, again, resources are equitably distributed, that, you know, the schools that are busting at the seams shouldn't be busting at the seams. We should have a good way to make sure every student has the appropriate space for learning. And then, you know, there will come a time probably when more facilities will have to be built, but we have to make sure that we get this right first. So that's going to be, the timeline is Dr. Bedell will present this in July. We have a workshop later in July. I think it's the 19th. I'll double check that. It should be on our calendar. We will probably be holding hearings in the September, October range. I have noted at board meetings that we are not accepting testimony or public comment right now in general board meetings on redistricting, because we will have hearings specifically for redistricting. And so we will have those hearings, and then our goal is to vote around whatever that middle of November. The 2nd November meeting is our statutory limit. We have to vote on the redistricting by April, but that's awfully late. We'd like to get it done in November so people have ample time to know what the next year is going to look like. So that's obviously a big one. And trying to think if there was anything else. Yeah.
Pop in with a thought. So we brought this up last meeting about the redistricting, that we're in phase 2. And the idea that this actually gives us a little bit of time to help build the reputation of like Annapolis High and the Annapolis school systems, that those who have not experienced it, are from the outside, don't know about our schools, don't know about the quality work being done, the quality teachers, the growth in individual kids. And so I think if we can all put on our personal mission statements to try and build the narrative and story. I've
Mhm.
I got to get back in touch with Bob Mosier to see if he can highlight the ROTC.
Oh, yeah.
That has not been highlighted, things like that.
Right.
All right, I'm going to turn to Enid has a question.
Yeah, I did not hear the name of the new principal for Annapolis. Did you all mention the name?
Ms. Audra Wayland.
Wayland.
Mhm. And I can send around the nice introductory note that describes her background as a Spanish teacher, as a department chair of world and classical languages, as an assistant principal. She had several other positions before she got to be an assistant principal at Annapolis High.
Oh, I totally forgot. I was going to say something. But yeah, oh, I know. So this was the first time, as you recall, Dr. Bedell is instituting a slightly different process. There was a community committee that was put together, and she was one of the top two that the community just chose as well. Now, Dr. Bedell's always been clear, at the end of the day, it's his, it is the superintendent's decision. But in this case, those two things really did come together. So
And I think it gave the Annapolis High community a big sense of relief that she knows us. She has experienced the school. She will put her own twist and bent of leadership on it, but she knows our students. She knows our situation and all the good things that the previous principals have built upon.
Yeah, I'm very enthusiastic. Dr. Bedell is thrilled. And we have some spectacular, there have been some other principals in the Annapolis cluster that are being changed out, frankly, because the principals have been promoted. Mr. Rogers at Mills Parole, and I always think of him as Andre, and I'm forgetting his last name.
Mr.
Dillard at Georgetown East, who's extraordinary. But Dr. Bedell has is bringing in some extraordinary principals. Go ahead.
Can you tell us the status of the Education Commission's request to have a policy review of the transportation radius? So,
Yes.
Rodriguez, what we did several months ago is we submitted a request to the Board of Education's Policy Review Committee to re-examine the walking distance required for elementary and middle school because of just reports from parents and reports from teachers within the school of, if it's a rainy day, attendance drops down significantly because they're walking 1.5 miles to the middle school. There's 1.5 miles minimum.
Yeah.
Or you get busing provided, and up to 1 mile in elementary school. So we asked for a review of that policy, whether for the purposes of closing opportunity gaps, the Annapolis cluster could be considered differently.
We are at the point in the summer where we submit, where the policy, the staff who work with the policy committee sort of put together the list for the review for the following year. So I don't know exactly where it's going to fall in the year, but it will be on our, it's my singular, well, it's certainly my top priority that I'm requesting. I tend to prefer not to inundate the staff with a lot of them. I'd rather have, something like this that has been critical. And frankly, Dr. Bedell made it very clear when he came in that one size does not fit all. And so I think we have a little more opening now to, obviously the board can make a change in policy, but you want to make sure it's sort of aligned with what the staff is being directed to carry out. So I think that, it's the right time to look at that and really try to think through, what's a better way to do this so we're not locking every community into exactly the same thing and essentially ignoring the substantial differences between an urban
Mhm.
setting, not to mention Forest Drive and all its issues, and other areas versus, in another, say, more suburban community or rural community. So, so I think it's a good time for that. So the goal is to look at it over the following year, the upcoming school year.
So if any of our commission members have a question they want to ask Dr. Rodriguez, or sorry, Dr. Tobin, if you wanted to ask Mr. Rodriguez, you're welcome to ask. Also, if anybody has a question you want to ask about upcoming policies, strategies, implementation, anything. Oh, Laura, I'm sure you have something.
I'm on my best behavior.
Yeah. I will thank you for the statement, the resolution that the Annapolis Education submitted regarding the policy that's currently before us.
No, I didn't tell the rest of the
Yeah.
commission. So last month we voted on a motion about the display of flags within AACPS schools. That is a proposed motion in front of the board. And we voted as a group, and I forwarded that information with Annapolis Education Commission does not support the proposed policy IS display of flags. So I forwarded that to all the board members, and then I followed up and forwarded to the policy. Laura, what's the policy
Comments.
at aacps.org? And so that is still open until July 12th.
Yeah, it's not open till the 12th. It's open for an additional 2 weeks from the meeting. So it's probably like the 10th or something like that.
We can have, people can submit their individual comments, perspectives.
I urge you to do that. We've had, as of the last meeting, we had about almost 1,700 submissions. I read them all. I don't respond. I can't respond to every email and message. I read them all. And I would say 20 to 25% of those were in favor of the policy. And I've made my position clear from the dais on it. I don't think we need it, and I don't support it, but I appreciate the commission weighing in on that. And I think it is vitally important that the community make its voice heard loud and clear on this and other issues. So that there's no, it's not, I mean, people have raised concerns, said, well, is this just a numbers game, if they're more or less? It's not. I mean, certainly not for me. I have a set of principles I work on, and if something is aligned with them, I support it. And if it's not, I don't. However, I think these comments are public, and I think it's important as a community to be clear where we stand. And I do think that it was interesting. One of the more enjoyable parts of the meeting, the last meeting, was that our student member who was ending his year, his older brother, came back from England, signed up for a non-agenda public speaking, and gave a very sweet and very funny sort of tribute to and roast of his younger brother. But anyway, he has been working in the UK he graduated college a year or two ago in the UK for the shadow foreign minister. And he came up to me and we were talking, because I said in my comments, I think people don't understand that these kinds of public meetings where people can weigh in don't exist in hardly anywhere else in the world. And he came up to me and he said, I think people are shocked to know it doesn't exist in England either. I mean, we tend to think of sort of Western Europe and so forth as being somewhat similar to us in that respect. We really are unique in that. And I hate to see people not take advantage of it, and then look up someday and see something happen and think, oh, how did that happen? So, please use your voice, and please understand, just for the record, one more time, any board member can bring a policy, and we don't hold hearings in committee. So public input doesn't happen unless the policy is voted out of committee to the board. And the only reasons we tend to not, and in my time, we've never not voted a policy out of committee, but the only reason we would is if it were patently illegal, right? If it really contradicted the COMAR or anything else. And so who sits in those seats matters, because the policy we passed a couple of years ago when I was chair of the policy committee, the LGBTQ plus student protection policy, was also brought by one board member. So I just think it's also important to understand we don't operate like the General Assembly. This is different. We don't drawer things. We don't hold hearings in committee. And so, when things come before the board for consideration, it's because the people in those seats have that capacity. So
Laura has a question. I just want to point out that the board is reviewing policies all the time. This one has drawn much more attention, but throughout the year, they are having reviews of different academic policies, transportation policies, blah, blah, blah. So it does behoove us to take a look at these things that are widespread systemic changes to our students. Also, so I'm gonna pass to Laura.
It's not so much of a question, but I just wanted for you to reiterate, because I know there was a lot of confusion about why we had to discuss it, like why it couldn't be voted down at this
committee. Right.
So if you could just explain for everybody who's watching, on YouTube right now, why it was that we have to discuss it again in July, and we can vote on it this week.
Good point. So every policy comes up for first reader, right? So that's the first time after it's voted out of policy committee, it comes to the board, which is really just sort of a statement of, we will now be reviewing this policy. Here it is. Here's what it is. Then 30 days later, it comes up for second reader, which was what we had on June 26th at our meeting. So that's generally where amendments are made. In other words, there's been 30 days of public input. Board members have had time to look at it. The motion, the person maybe who brought it initially can sort of look at maybe if there are concerns about it, maybe there are amendments they can make that can address some of those concerns, other members, et cetera. So that's what happened on Monday night. And I have to say many amendments were brought for that policy, only one passed. So the policy is essentially not changed in a very substantive way. So it now goes up for 2 more weeks and then comes out on the next. So because it's the summer, our timing is a little off. So it comes up at the next meeting, in this case, which is slightly more than 2 weeks. And at that time on third reader is where we vote, unless somebody really comes up with some significant amendment they want to bring, which just has to be discussed by the board. And if the board decides we do want to make an amendment, then it can go back out again for an additional period of time. So that's why the multiple times. Thank you for reminding us of that. And the county council does a similar thing, the General Assembly. I mean, look, folks, as an old political theory professor, if you read the grievances behind, at the end of the Declaration of Independence, all this stuff is based on that, right? It's really based on the idea that you want all these meetings to be subject to a set of consistent rules where it's not, you can't sort of say to the public, oh yeah, didn't we tell you we had a meeting last night and we passed a new policy? Oh, you didn't know that and you didn't get your comments in? Too bad, right? It really is about having this very consistent structure whereby people can come. And of course, now we have up to 10 slots available for people to give public comment at the meeting. You can give comments at policycomments@aacps.org, identify the policy you're talking about, give your comments. And you can always email board office at aacps.org, or you can email individual board members. I mean, you have multiple ways.
Right. Board office at aacps.org gets it distributed to every single Board of Ed.
To every single board member.
One
I
email.
recommend that. Yeah. If you want to make sure everybody sees everything. So, there are, and I think sometimes people are surprised by this. We have more opportunity for public comment in our meetings than any other board in Maryland. And always have had. And I get people periodically going, why don't you guys give us an opportunity to comment? And I'm like, well.
India has her hand raised. India?
Just a note, AACPS Facebook says comments by July 11th, but the official policy website says July 12th.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the 12th. That's incorrect because we can't get them right up to the day of, but thank you for that. I will double check with Ms. Wilson and make sure we get that lined up appropriately. So thank you. Thank you for that reminder. But yes,
and also
send in your comments.
Letting people know that they can comment they can send, a comment or something to the Board of Education on any topic. Someone wants to say,
at any time.
Third grade math is not being taught well, and you should change the curriculum to X.
Right.
You at any time can send that into the Board of Ed members and at boardoffice.aac
or directly in the case of, particularly in the District 6. I will say, I've said this before, I have an AACPS phone. I have a job other times, and I don't have an assistant. So I really urge people not to try to call me on that phone. Texting me is better on that phone number that's on my signature. But I cannot guarantee that I'm very good at picking up that phone. So, but email, I read everything. So you can always get to me at my email address. So
awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Tobin.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. It's always informative. We will love to hear what transpires with procedural changes in the elementary, middle, or high school.
Yeah.
All right, to put on your calendar, our next meeting, we are skipping the July meeting of the Annapolis Education Commission. And our next meeting, the fourth Wednesday, would be on the 23rd, I believe. 23rd of August is it?
That is the same day as the board meeting.
Is it? Okay.
Now it's a day meeting, but that can be a long meeting because that's our meeting right before the start of school. So if there's any way you could shift that date.
We possibly could to the fifth Wednesday, which is like the day after all of school has started. So school is starting on the calendar the 27th and 28th, I believe.
28th and 29th.
28th and 29th. So if we went to the 30th.
Yep. That actually might be a good time just because those, those first couple of days, I mean, heaven forfend, we have another bus issue. But things happen on the first couple of days of school. So sometimes.
They do.
Oh.
But if we could get your participation and our regional superintendent, Ms. Jolynn Davis, had said she was going to try to make our August meeting to give us some updates on changes.
Yeah. That's a good time to kind of get a rundown, but I urge everyone, there is that meeting on the 23rd. And if you have time, that's really where we get a lot of updates from the superintendent as we're ready to start the school year and so on. So
Great. Good summer video viewing.
yes.
So, right. So it's always, if you can't watch it live, it is always videotaped and you can catch it after.
If you need something to put you to sleep, please, turn on the.
They're very exciting.
All right.
Meeting.
Yeah.
I slept it all Monday night.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tobin. We look forward to lots of good summer progress.
Good
Thanks.
night, everyone. And thank you all for what you do. I'm very grateful to you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back and do quick business before we completely forget to do business. Laura, if you could pull up the draft meeting minutes. And these are from the May meeting, and Pam Bukowski was our secretary for the previous year and has developed incredibly wonderfully captured minutes that describe everything that went on beyond what I even remember went on. So thank you, Pam, for that service you provided us over the past year.
Thank you. Here we go.
How many?
All right.
These
These are long. I don't know. Do you want me to sort of slowly scroll through them?
just in case anybody hasn't seen it, Rachel, I'm counting quorum. I don't know that we have quorum to pass with Grace without Odessa here.
Odessa is trying to get in.
Okay, Julian, do you see anybody?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we hear Odessa's voice yet?
And I don't see her coming in either.
Do you hear Grace's voice?
Yes, we do, Grace.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can slow down with the scrolling if folks want me to scroll down or up or faster or slower.
Okay. So, Laura, I think we might not currently have quorum to,
Okay.
so we're going to hold on that for a little bit later.
Okay. I'll finish polling. So if you've had a chance to see it, there you go.
You can see what amazing notes Pam took. Thank you.
Very detailed. Thank you, Pam.
All
right.
And for the next portion, AACPS staff update, I do have a couple of things to email you. Ms. Davis sent us something just saying that she was not aware of any possible changes to Panther Hour. If you're not familiar with Panther Hour, it is a block around, there used to be 4 lunchtime blocks, just getting all the kids in the school through 4 different lunch periods. They compressed that to 2 periods, one of which was lunch, could be lunch for you, and the other could be a help session, a club meeting, any social time or other things within the entire Annapolis High building. And we're thankful for our administrators and their grace and patience to try and manage 2150 kids in a building during that fluid time when they're looking to go get help. As our data show, we have 40% of our students are missing more than 18 days of class time during the year, the 10% threshold for chronically absent. So they're needing to visit teachers, catch up, they've been out sick, they haven't had transportation, things like that. So Panther Hour has been invaluable in allowing them to catch up on work and attend club meetings when they might not have their own transportation after school. So we will stay tuned to what that's going to look like in the coming year. That's the staff update so far. I do have just an update. I'm going to email you about CAT South. So CAT South is the Technical Center for Applied Technology South, which our students go to if they wish to choose certain career technical training. And I asked Ms. Davis how many slots there were for Annapolis students, or and she gave me the update on that. So I will send that out to you of what that looks like. I'm now going to move to our invited guest speaker, Mr. Gabriel Rodriguez, the Executive Director of Center of Help.
Good evening, everyone. So Janet, the purpose, I assume, is talking a little bit about the center, or?
Yes, just talking about the center, what kinds of work you do, where you might need volunteers or people to connect you with school networks, what
Sure.
kinds of services your students need, if they need help with procedures to get them connected into school, anything we can do and know about.
So the Center of Help have 3 different types of services. We have family services, educational services, and mental health services. Under our family services, we have case navigation, which is just like social services work. We have pro bono immigration legal clinics. So we provide free legal clinics, a 30-minute legal clinic for on immigration topics. We also have the Strengthening Families program, and we are running that program in collaboration with the Tyler Heights Elementary School. We just finished that program, and it was a very successful cohort, and we are looking forward to continue doing the program in collaboration with the school. And last but not least, under the family services, we have the Maria de la Paz Youth Outreach Center. This is an after-school program, and the focus on this program is to promote holistic wellness. We integrate classes and activities such as martial arts, yoga, art therapy, mindfulness, conflict resolution, math tutoring, support in setting and working towards personal goals, among other things. That's one program that we always need volunteers. However, it has been a challenge for the center to get fundings for this program. And we are in conversations with the Boys and Girls Club to do a collaboration. So it's very likely that we will be merging our program with the Boys and Girls Club. So the needs of this program is something that I don't know exactly until they give me the MOU, and I know what the future for the program will be. Passing to our educational services, we have Plaza Comunitaria, which is a program for Spanish speakers who have not been able to start or finish elementary or middle school. This program combines face-to-face and online sessions to adapt to the learning piece of each participant. This is in collaboration with the Embassy of Mexico. They provide a curriculum, they provide the certification. It is a program for adults. And it's completely in Spanish. And for this same thing, volunteers. We always need volunteers who can do tutoring in Spanish, who can do tutoring in Spanish. That's a big need for this program. We have the citizenship classes. And actually, the Center of Health will be celebrating our graduation in August. We will be graduating 23 students from citizenship and Plaza Comunitaria programs. It will be a beautiful event. Stuart Pittman will be there, and some other representatives of the city, the county, and the embassy of Mexico. So the citizenship classes are just classes for legal permanent residents who want to pursue U.S. citizenship. We prepare them for the interview. We do mock interviews and discuss about history of and civics of the USA. So the next educational program we have is ESL classes. We always need ESL teachers, and they do not need to speak Spanish. And that's something that everybody can help. Depending on the level, if it's our level 1, it's good that that person speaks some Spanish, but from level 2 to level 4, we can use any teacher who can teach ESL. We also have computer literacy, and that's class, for from introductory to intermediate level.
Is that
provide
for adults or youth?
It is. All our educational programs are for adults. The only programs that we have for youth is the Maria de la Paz Youth Outreach Center that we are merging with the Boys and Girls Club. I do not, that program where an educational program, we used to have a youth academy. The Leadership and Learning program is not with us anymore. It's at the Marshall Center. And the Maria de la Paz program, it was an educational program, but I decided to give the program a different way, because I was thinking everybody is doing after-school programs, and it's so hard to get funding for this program. And if I want to keep this program alive, I need to do something different. Because I cannot justify another after-school program. When there is people out there with more resources than me doing after-school programs, including the school system. The school is having great after-school programs now. I will not compete with that. They have resources. They can do something much better that I can do with my resources. So if I want to create an impact and do something that is really necessary, I need to do something different. And what I thought is, what is nobody doing? And that's mental health for Hispanics, youth. Nobody's working with that. And I cannot have a program with the mental health label for youth, because there is a lot of liability on that, and I have to be very careful on it. So what I did is to focus on holistic wellness. That way I can just promote holistic wellness in general, and that includes the mental health. For example, we have art therapy. There is a professional who is involved in that. We have martial arts to teach students to face bullying with control, not with violence. The beautiful thing about the Center of Health programs is that they overlap. And for example, I haven't talked about it, but we also have mental health programs. We offer, Well, let me talk about this first, and then I will talk about this overlap. We have a partnership with the Department of Health to provide a program with community health ambassadors. They basically promote mental health, and they do mental health first aid training sessions, and they go door to door doing community engagement. And we have the mental health program, which provides free services of licensed clinical social worker for uninsured immigrants.
Okay.
And that's important because they don't have, like around the lodge, have options for those who have an insurance, but where you go if you don't have an insurance? And that's what we are doing. If people with insurance comes here and they said, I need therapy, we can help them to look for resources through their insurance. But here at the center, we work with those who do not have any insurance. And that leads me to the overlap I talked. For example, this year, we had an issue with one student from Annapolis High who attempted suicide. And he was part of our Maria de la Paz Youth Outreach Center. And because we have this overlap between programs, we identify that on one program and we connect this student with the therapist. And that's how our programs interact with each other. They can have that therapy. In case navigation, they can see some needs of the community and identify them. So make referrals to our educational programs with our mental health programs. So far, that's a big overview of our programs. We are in the process of developing a new program that I believe it will be a big thing. I am in conversations with a professor of Johns Hopkins and another professional in the mental health field who will be helping me to develop a strategic plan for the program. And I believe this program will be a big thing in probably not only in the city, but the whole county and maybe the state. So finger crossed.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you for the big overview, because I know it definitely, the program has changed. My older son did the Saturday morning tutoring for students in the learning lab with Centro de Ayuda. And I know a number of Annapolis High students did that for the younger students.
And we still have a very good relationship with that program. That program is not running at the center anymore, but Tatiana Klein is running that program at the Marshall Learning Center.
Okay, I'm not even familiar with the Marshall Learning Center.
That's at Marshall Hope. And they do food pantry as well. They have a lot of programs, and they are quite full right now. I think she have around 70 kids.
Okay.
So I don't know if they are accepting new enrollments.
Okay.
But they have a waiting list.
Okay. Where are they located? What road are they on?
I am not sure. They are here in Annapolis.
I will.
Yeah, but if you look on internet, Tatiana Klein Marshall Learning Center, you will find it.
Great. Good.
Over off Ridgely.
Okay. West Annapolis area. Okay, great. Thank you. Because we're always trying to, some of our parents are saying, where can my high school student who's good in math help do some tutoring? We're trying to connect the community.
And the vision of the Center of Health, the way we work with our programs is to work with the whole family.
Mhm.
We have programs to work with the parents, we have programs to work with the children,
Mhm.
and we have programs to work with the whole family together.
Mhm.
And the idea is you can be more efficient creating an impact if you work with the whole family, not just with one individual of the family. And we strongly believe that a community is based on families.
Mhm.
If you have strong families, you will have a strong community.
Mhm.
Even if you're a single person, you have parents, you are part of a family. So the community is based in families. You need strong families to have a strong community. You need strong families to work with the crime, with all those things. If you have strong families, the consequences, the positive consequences will be a lot. And that's the focus we have here at the Center of Health, working with the whole family.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the mental health focus also because having worked with a number of families with Annapolis High students, immigrant and Hispanic families, they were waiting for months and months and months and never got to see a therapist throughout the school year, where the kids were, really expressing the need greatly. And so I know the backlog of need is very large there. So thank
Well,
you.
if there is something, if you're asking me what you can help, if any of you knows any way we can get funding to expand the hours of that mental health therapies,
Okay.
please reach me out because we are looking to expand that the hours for that program, but it's very hard to find funding.
Okay. We might know of something. The high school PTA got some support for mental health for its students. So if there's a way that we can designate that, I will make that connection.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Mhm. Okay. Did anyone else have any questions or comments you wanted to add while Mr. Rodriguez is here with us? Well, thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to know, are you plugged in with the community schools program? I don't know how closely you work with them, but like I know at Tyler Heights, that's the idea. The idea behind the community schools program is the same thing, that we help the whole family. And so everything that you're doing seems right in line with what they're doing. And again, that seems like a place where instead of both of you, working in sort of separate areas, that perhaps if you worked with the community schools coordinator, rather than duplicating each other's efforts, you could each sort of divide and conquer more effectively.
Yeah, certainly that's something I am looking for. I am talking with different like yesterday I had a meeting with libraries, 5 different libraries, because and that was something I was telling them. Seems that a lot of the work the libraries does is very similar to what we do at the Center of Health, and I think we should be working together to avoid duplicating efforts. And with less money, we probably together can do more. And that's definitely something, one of my main priorities. Right now, I am very busy with this end of fiscal year reporting. But once I finish all this craziness of the end of the fiscal year, my goal is to catch up on this goal again and start meeting with more organizations and schools, libraries. I would love to meet with the new
Principal?
director at the principal at the Annapolis High School.
Yes.
I heard she's a Spanish speaker, and I know we can do a lot of things together. So yeah, thank you for that. That's definitely on my scope.
Great. I will send you the background note on her, and she's very, very personable and great to meet with. Laura knows well your pain on fiscal reporting and and the one that's kept us all out
Office today.
of nonprofit jail for many, many years of different things. All right. So
Thank
great. Well,
you.
yeah, thank you. We're super impressed with how quickly up to speed you've gotten in a very short amount of time. And we look forward to supporting you in any ways we can this coming year.
Thank you very much. I also, this is not related to the Center of Help. I don't know how long I will be there, but I am also the director of the Guitar for Change program. That program was previously a Center of Help program, and we could not afford the program, so we find a new home for the program, and that program is at Maryland Hall right now.
Okay.
I am very, very busy, so I don't know how long I can be there. But that's another thing. If you know, the idea of that program was to create something that is culturally engaged with the Hispanic community, the guitar, and we can use that to keep them busy after school, and doing that, face the problem that we are having in the increase of MS-13 activity that is impacting a lot that Hispanic community. So the program targets those immigrants that are at risk of gang activity, basically keeping them busy with a lot of guitar practicing, rehearsals. They do concerts, and they are very active. Wow. That's the goal of the program. So if you know anybody who wants is a Hispanic youth and wants to, or a children, Hispanic youth or children, and would like to have free guitars, we provide free guitars and free guitar lessons for them.
What is the age group or what grades?
There is no, once they are at college, they cannot continue with the program, but until high school, and there is not a starting age. Obviously, if they are too small, too young, I will say from 7 maybe, 7 to 17, 18.
Well, Maryland Hall, you're within what, I mean, any of the students at Bates Middle School could just walk there because they're, right next door. And I know there was another after school program at Maryland Hall that Ken Starks was running or last year. I don't know if it's going to run again this year, but if there are multiple programs there, I think one of the things we could look into is seeing if there's any way we can transport students from Annapolis Middle, and that would cover all of our middle school students. And middle school, I think, tends to be a very highly at-risk age group because they have a little bit more independence than elementary, and a lot of the influences are harder, they're more accessible to those things. So anything, if we could work on maybe finding ways of getting kids, because I know we have multiple programs running at Maryland Hall for some of the youth from getting kids from Annapolis Middle over there. That's something we could work on this year.
And I am not trying to promote the program a lot because, to be honest, it's quite full. It's not that I have a lot of space on the program, but if you know of any youth who really would love to learn guitar, have the desire and match with this profile, I can make a space for them.
Awesome.
And if you could share that information with us, we can share it with the music program and the social workers at both of the middle schools. Might be able to help identify kids that would benefit. Thank you. It sounds wonderful.
Yes. All the programs sound great. Laura, if you wouldn't mind pulling up for me the Annapolis High, would you be able to pull up the Annapolis High School website? One of my intentions for this summer is that I'd like each of us within our wards, within our neighborhoods of influence, to show people how they get connected. We do have too many students in the middle school and high school level who are not connected. If you can go into, okay, so this is the landing page for AnnapolisHighSchool.org. And if you go into the student section, Laura's going to show you clubs and activities down here in the student section. And if you scroll down, Annapolis High has about, I don't know, 50 or so different clubs that are available to students. And each club has like executive officers and great leadership. Some of them are bigger clubs like the Future Business Leaders Association of America. Some of them are smaller clubs around a craft or activity. And what we've talked about, and we talked about with Dr. Tobin before the meeting, was getting kids in middle school to kind of make a plan for things that they want to try in high school. So it's not, I mean, my first child went through Annapolis High, and I had no idea a lot of these clubs existed until my second child went through. And I got it a little more right the second time. But we want to show them ways of getting engaged in the school in a positive thing that gives you leadership, that gives you a path to the future, of what the speech and debate team, you know, mock trial, sewing club, sewing and fashion, Model UN, just a huge variety of clubs. And because I know that I, as a parent, had to kind of nudge and push my child to try things. And if the parents aren't aware of what's available to try, the kids, you know, might just lean back and it's like, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I don't know who's already in there. I don't know if I'm going to try. So we want to get people in the commission to kind of talk up this opportunity, know where to go to find the options. And just like you would start to talk about college or career options at the middle school level, we want to start talking about club and academic options at the middle school level for them to start thinking about pursuing, or to continue something interesting that they've started in middle school into the high school level. So yeah, there's a Zine club, zoology, you know, green school, environmental club, all sorts of different options. Spanish language and culture club, Spanish National Honor Society. So if we can all be ambassadors for the invigorated clubs. I know the club that Odessa started and now is thriving, the Black Student Union club is doing really well and dynamic. So appreciate you all talking this up and where to find it. The other thing I want to go to, Laura, could you go to athletics?
Which brings up its own website.
Which moves over to its own website. This is something the school system doesn't control. So if you look through the top of the menu choices, fall sports, winter sports, spring sports, it tells you what sports are played, what season. You have to go into the more category to then there's this registration for family ID, and you can't try out for a sport without going through the registration process. And I do not want kids to lose opportunities because their parents are not good at bureaucratic forms.
Right.
And that's what this is. There's forms to get a physical. You have to have a physical done prior to trying out for the school sport. So a lot of the physicals are done in the summer. You can go to CVS Minute Clinic. The Target has a Minute Clinic within it. And for $59, you pay for a sports physical. They have tried to do some subsidized sports physicals for our teams, and we will disseminate that information if that comes available. But if you know of kids who need physicals, this is where to direct them. If they need funding for that sort of help, let us know and see if the sports boosters or Annapolis PTA could help provide that for certain teams. The teams have also been raising money at their concerts and doing concession support. So they might have assistance to those who want to try out. Also, to put on your time frame horizon that high school sports start, practices and tryouts start August 9th. That is the date this year they start. So you can't show up at the beginning of the school year and hope to try out. They hold those tryouts, start right away. So that's important to tell kids at the middle school level to get them engaged in something. There are sports like the cross-country team at Annapolis High that in the past has not made any cuts to the team. And there's a variety of different sports like that. Other sports like soccer, it is a competitive thing where they do have to cut down the numbers of participants. But we want you to be aware of that. Please help other people in the community understand the procedures for how to do this. Okay, Laura, I need you to take over for a minute while I go get some water.
Okay. What are we tackling next? Did you want to talk about the PowerPoint and do the school calendar?
Could you also bring up the registration for summer school?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You just mention that and I'll be right back.
All right, let me stop sharing that and I will start sharing. Right in the summertime, they offer, the school system offers, let me see if I can bring this up here. Offers a secondary summer school that now allows students to catch up if there's a class that they didn't pass during the year and they're a credit shy and in danger of not graduating. They can do that through the secondary summer school program. The registration for that, it ends on July 3rd. So that is coming up this week. So that's what, Monday? Yeah.
Monday, right.
So if you have a student or know of a student who needs to take advantage of this program, registration's coming up. We do have links for both of those. We were trying to figure out an easy way to share information. So we've actually set up a tiny URL for Annapolis EdCom. And we have links out there for everything that that we're talking about tonight. We will add all of those links out there. But I did put links to both of those, to both of the flyers, the brochures that talk about which classes are offered and what times they're offered, so that if you know of anybody who needs that, those links are available there and you can grab them and share them with whoever needs them. We don't want any students that need to complete a certain class before graduation to end up at the end of next school year and suddenly discover, hey, now I can't get my diploma because I didn't complete this thing that I could have done over the summer.
Right. Yeah. So this is like help our community get through bureaucratic processes like registration. If their student has failed the class needed for graduation or kind of can't fit it into their schedule. So they do have a couple gym classes that are mandatory requirements. They have the global change class that's a mandatory requirement. And if because of their scheduling or interrupted schooling or anything else, need those summer session credits, we do want to help them get successful in registering for those. Okay, thanks, Laura.
Sure.
If anybody else wants to bring up any things that you know about going on in your ward or school events or anything that you want to, just throw your hand up in the box.
I'm going to just throw out there, Bates Middle School is undergoing a pretty massive renovation this summer. They are getting their entire HVAC system replaced, which is yay. Unfortunately, doing that means that they're having to go up into areas where they had sealed off asbestos because it's an older building. So they had gone through asbestos remediation many years ago. And so as a result, they're basically gutting each classroom, the entire ceiling and everything. So they're doing them in blocks at a time. time. They're also redoing the main entrance to the school. So they will now have one of those sort of airlock type entrances like the high school has, or Annapolis Middle, where you get buzzed into like an entryway, and then you can go into the main office, and then from there you can go into the school for safety and security purposes, which means that they are actually moving the main office from it was across the hallway from the entry, main entrance to the building, and they're moving that into where some classrooms were on the one side of the entry. So they've moved the main office. So if you do want to visit Bates this summer, I highly recommend calling ahead, just making sure that they are open, that they are the 4-day work week starts for all of our schools started this past Friday. So from during the summer, all the schools are only open Monday through Thursday. So if you need to get in touch with a principal or a guidance counselor, make sure that you're trying that on a Monday through Thursday window. But if you're going to Bates, I would highly recommend calling in advance. Ms. Clark in the main office will tell you the best times and how to actually get in there if you're new to the building, where you want to go to get into the building.
Great points. And also, as you're talking to people in the community, remind them that though the teachers are on a 10-month contract, they're not available for discussions in the summer. The middle school and high school guidance counselors work all year round, and summer is a perfect opportunity to go into them with questions about classes, like scoping out how you're going to schedule, kind of tailoring your selections to what your child's interests or pursuits want to be. That's really a much better time to have an in-depth meeting with your guidance counselor, because as soon as the school year starts, they are shot from a cannon of expediency in trying to do everything during the school year. So please take advantage of the summer session to do kind of this with your student and encourage them to work on things. We also have college essay workshops. We want to encourage them to do summer reading, really make use of this time to be disciplined in moving forward. It's not a completely vacant time in one's academic progression. So great. I'm going to go ahead, and since we have Odessa here, I'm going to make a motion to about approval of the minutes. Is there any revision needed to the draft minutes of the May 31st meeting? If anyone would like to propose a revision?
Janet, we lost Grace, so we're right back where we started from.
I was too slow. Okay, sorry, I had counted Grace earlier. All right, we will take care of that in August then. And we already mentioned in old business, the comment period is still open for policy comments for the Board of Ed. Is there any new business that anyone would like to mention? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. This is Odessa.
Hi, Odessa.
Yeah, I just want to see, starting in the fall, I guess would be our next meeting in September.
We will actually be having a meeting August 30th.
Oh, okay. So is Pam Brown still invited to come to one of the meetings?
I have not reached out to her yet because we did not have a date of exactly when we were meeting. So, so I will definitely make sure I follow up, and if you can't join us. Ms. Jolynn Davis, our regional superintendent, said she would be giving us an update at that August meeting if she's able to make it. So I'll reach out to both of them and see who's available when.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Anything else I have dropped off the radar list of busy juggles and need reminders? Okay.
You know what, Jan, I'm sorry. I missed the beginning of the meeting. Did you all discuss the flags, about the flags?
Joanna Tobin, the president, was here with us, and she discussed that they had gotten like 1,700 comments so far. Public comment is still open. India checked until July 11th. You can write in personally to policy comment. Is it comment or comments?
I think it's comments plural, but let me double check.
Okay, at acps.org until July 11th, at which time they're going to be voting on the policy on July 12th at the Board of Ed meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought they already voted on it.
No, she explained the process. They had to have it at first reader and then second reader, and then on third reader, they vote.
And that is policy comments with an S on the end at aacps.org. So you can send in any feedback that you have. And if you didn't watch the meeting on Monday, it might be worth, it's long, but it was
Illuminating.
illuminating. Thank you. Good word.
Okay, have they changed the meetings now to Monday, or it used to be on Wednesdays?
Right. They had something that, so that was a special meeting on Monday. Today
but this-
might be a Muslim holiday, Eid
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. So I'm not sure, but there was a reason they had the meeting on Monday instead. So they kind of have to flex throughout the year. And then in July and August, they only have one meeting per month.
Yeah, the next board meeting is on the 12th. And that's they go in closed session from 10 to 12. So I'm assuming then from 12 o'clock on would be the actual meeting.
And August 23rd is the next board meeting right before the beginning of school. And she said that's an important one to look at, to watch if you can, because Dr. Bedell will be kind of unveiling all the new policy implementation and changes and structure for the coming school year at that meeting.
That's the August 23rd meeting.
Yes.
And so when do they plan on continuing the redistricting?
That's coming up. They're doing the northern part in the fall, and we're going to be all watching the process so that when it hits our phase 2, then we will be more prepared for how the process goes. And I talked to everybody about, let's spend this summertime kind of building up the reputation of the Annapolis cluster schools, telling more stories of our successes and our great resources that we have, because people who don't know us are just prone to bash us based on outdated modes of evaluation through the great schools or MSDE.
Okay.
It's our high rate of students missing parts of the school year has lowered our ratings so greatly that even if they're there learning, we are not getting rated appropriately. So we need to tell more positive stories of what's happening in the school system.
They all are important meetings to pay attention to.
Yes. Yes, thank you. They are. India has testified at a number of the Board of Ed meetings and watches and knows. Clearly, being a lawyer, she knows that the devil is in the details, and that needs public scrutiny and comment. So, hearing no more new business, do I hear any more new business? I do not. So I am going to move to adjourn the meeting with the understanding that I'll send out a distribution that we will be meeting next on August 30th at 6 p.m. If you can put that on your calendar.
I second.
Thank you. Thank you, Enid. Second. All in favor? All in favor? Have a great summer, and I'll be in touch with you by email. Thank you guys for everything you're doing for the community.